We have 3 emeralds at 3 different prices. We have A at 15,000, we have B at 8,200, and we have C at 4,200. So why do they all vary in prices so drastically, even though they're all around the 2.3 carat range? Today we're going to break down the 2 most important things, in my opinion, color and clarity, so you can better understand what it is to look out for when you're buying your engagement ring. All right, so let's start with the most important. That's going to be color, right? Because it's not like diamonds, you're buying a colorless stone, looking more at the impurities and things like that. Gemstones, it's a different thing. You're looking at the color, and the color is important because even just a slight difference in saturation can increase the price dramatically. The reason behind that is because the more saturated the colors, the more rare certain colors are, that's really going to be what's going to influence the price because of scarcity. So let's start the comparison. When you're looking at color, we're going to break it down into 3 sections. So number 1, we have saturation, then we're going to go into hue, and then the tone, right? So starting with saturation, what does that mean? It means just how saturated is the color. So if you start with option A, it has a very strong saturation. It is a very rich green, quote unquote, emerald color, and it also has a blue undertone. So when you're looking at emeralds, emeralds will often either be slightly yellow or slightly blue. That blue shade is the more desired. Of course, it's always personal preference, but that is the market industry standard of like what's the best. So B is much paler. It's actually paler than C. The reason why it's a little bit more expensive at 8,200 in comparison to 4,200 is actually because of the clarity, which we're going to touch on in a minute. But it still has a nice color, but personally I find this one to be a little bit too pale. So next we have the tone. So the tone really refers to how dark or how light it is, right? So when you're going on both ends of that spectrum, the value of the stone will actually decrease, because what happens is if the stone is too dark, it's basically going to start to become opaque. It's not going to be beautiful. If there's too opaque, there's no light passing through, which means that it will lose its brilliance. It's going to become flat. And all you're going to see is the reflection bouncing off of the top facets, and it's just not a desirable appearance. And the opposite is also important, because if the stone becomes too light, you're also going to start to lose that color. You can definitely see the difference between A and B in the sense that like having that paler color, it kind of starts to become less desirable. And also, when you start to go too pale, it can actually end up turning into a green beryl and not an emerald, because emeralds are within the same family as beryls. And generally how you differentiate the two is that a beryl will be a lot less saturated. So that's why when you're buying very, very pale emeralds, you want to make sure that you are paying the right price in the case that it is a beryl, because it will be less expensive. So we've touched on color, now we're going to go into clarity. Emeralds are stones that have a lot of inclusions naturally, to the point where they've actually coined the term the garden, also known in French le jardin, referring to all of those little inclusions within the stone. And so that's why it's really easy, just like a side note, to tell between a synthetic emerald and a natural emerald, is that they will have no inclusions. And I don't know what it is, but the inclusions really make the beauty of an emerald. That's really what gives it its charm, because otherwise it kind of just looks like glass. A little tip that I recommend is that when you are looking at the inclusions of a stone, it's really easy to just flip it upside down and look from the point of the stone through the top, because that way there's less facets and you can clearly see where the inclusions are. All right, so if you look at A, it does have some minor inclusions. If you look at the back up on the left corner, you will see that kind of like little spot there where the inclusions are, but overall the stone is quite nice. The one thing that I would say is it does have a tiny bit of milkiness, and this will be caused by a lot of little micro inclusions all throughout the stone that kind of gives it really a milkiness, right? And that is kind of what you're seeing here, that it's not the most brilliant stone just because there's a little bit less light refracting from the interior in comparison to, let's say, B, which has in certain areas higher clarity, less milkiness, and so more light is passing, which might make it look a little bit more quote unquote sparkly, a little bit more alive. And so again, A is a very beautiful specimen. B, we do have a little fissure along one of the sides, but it's more or less contained in a certain area of the stone, versus when you're looking at C, there's a lot of little inclusions throughout the stone. This is why you're really seeing that price drop from A being at 16,000 all the way down to, I think, 4,200. That is why it's really throughout the stone. It's also those inclusions I find are making it look darker. That is why for clients who are looking for higher quality emeralds, I want you to really be understanding that this is something that will always occur no matter the quality that you're going to be buying. You will always have some minor inclusions within the stone, and that is to be expected. So these are 3 really good examples of the spectrum of what you can expect. Emeralds and rubies are often similar prices and quite higher qualities as natural diamonds. So you can really find any price range, right? These are the same size and we're finding a strikingly different range. So that's why I always recommend clients when they're coming to look for an engagement ring, you can just let us know what is the most important for you. This is my budget. I prefer the carat weight. I don't care about the big clarity. Or I prefer vivid green. I actually want it to be darker green. This is really the beauty of gemstones in the sense that it doesn't really matter what the market appreciates. I find it really, you can choose what it is that you like, and then we will source that stone for you. You know what I mean? Comment a little cherry down below to know if you guys actually made it this far. I really do hope that helps. Of course, there are always a lot of different things that will influence the price. These are the top 2, but there are also things, there's origins that will influence, there's treatments. Most stones are oiled, but is it lightly oiled? Is it no oiled at all, which is extremely rare? Like, there are also different factors. We do have other YouTube videos if you want to find more in depth, but this was kind of like a little quick breakdown for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, my name is Dominic Flux. I've been in the industry for over a decade creating custom engagement rings. So any inquiries, my emails are down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.